24 hours to polls. Igala elders call for postponement. Women protest in Bayelsa. A couple of riders there says travelers miss flights as Labour grounds Imo-bound planes. IGP storms Kogi. Military raises alarm on fake soldiers. Labour action inconsiderate, not treasonable, according to Yadudu. Protest won't hamper Saturday's election. That's according to INEC. Well, the lead story is on page 4. You could read up and catch up. On the belts there, we see DSS reads Riot Act to troublemakers. We can see the pictorial of NUC and TUC members upon barricading the entrances of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport yesterday. We could also see women protesters at the police headquarters in Yenagwa demanding the redeployment of the CP. One of the placards there reads, President Tinubu, Bayelsa CP is biased. Well, these are some of the pictorials here on the front page. We see some other stories across the newspaper here. Students threaten strike over tuition hike in Ogun. That story is on page 16. Also, civilian joint task force commanders, 4 others killed in Borno mine blast. Unfortunate story there. Page 14, that story. Federal government flags off resettlement homes for Benue IDP. That story is on page 3. And just below the masthead, we see some other stories. Explosion. Canada says visa centers in Abuja, Lagos remain open. Also, 59 mosques destroyed in Israeli airstrike on Gaza. And also, 14.3 trillion naira remitted to Federation account in 2 years. Our stories on page 18. These are some of the stories you would find on the front page of the Daily Trust today.
The Punch newspaper major story says off-season polls, the federal government tackles labor over strike and unions disrupt Imo flights. The riders there says don't allow Labour Party destroy NLC TUC. Minister condemns airport picketing. INEC insists on polls. The unions stop Owerri flights, block Abuja Airport. United Nigeria Airlines Air Peace passengers were stranded. You find all the stories on page 2. Below there's a pictorial of the president meeting the Saudi ambassador, I think, or president. So it says energy, the federal government, Saudi signed MOU and Exim Bank, UBA partner on trade. You'll find this story on page 22 and 26. Below the belt there it says 40 AIGs, the commissioners redeployed in police shakeup. You find this on page 13. Nigeria shot by Togolese soldiers, seeks Tinubu's help. You'll find this on page 4 and 5. Fasoranti, Adebanjo's Afenifere factions clash over Supreme Court's verdict. You find this on page 7. At the top of the page there it says border closure, businesses collapse in northern communities and smuggling booms. You'll find this on page 8. The crude exports to Europe rise as federal governments boost local supply. And budget hearings, the Senate demands sacking of MDA heads. These are some of the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Renewed hope agenda. That's the big story you can find on page 4 and 5. Political class at profligate best as citizens languish. That's the lead story on the Guardian newspaper. We see a pictorial that carries some statistics. Luxury budget for Nigeria's presidency. It says renovation of the residential quarters for the president in Abuja to go 4 billion naira. Renovation of the residential quarters for the vice president in Abuja, 2.5 billion. Renovation of Dodan Barracks, Lagos, official residence of the president, another 4 billion. Renovation of the official quarters of the vice president in Lagos, GOPS 3 billion. Construction of office complex in the presidential villa to GOP, another 4 billion. We see some other figures there, 1.5 for the purchase of vehicles for the office of the first lady, 2.9 billion for the purchase of SUVs for the presidential villa, and another 2.9 billion for the replacement of operational vehicles for the presidency. Well, these are some of the luxury budget that would be expended on the presidential villa. Below that, we see importers to pay more as customs revises rate to 783 naira per dollar amid 70% decline. Beneath that, we see UBA Saudi Exim Bank partner on business relations, export growth. That's on the business page, page 19. Decision day in Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi. INEC affirms readiness. DHQ uncovers plot to cause mayhem. Beside that, we see passengers stranded as labor unions picket airport. Kayamo fumes. Below that, we see reps summons FIRS others. Moves to check powers of CBN governor. That story is on page 3. Election litigation over. Real governance should commence. That's the editorial of The Guardian. Also, Naiti reveals Federation account received 14.4 trillion in 2 years. That story, you can catch that on the business page. These are some of the stories on The Guardian newspaper today. You could get a copy to get more details and updates on The Guardian newspaper.
The nation's lead story says Uzodinma, Keyamo, CSOs, Labour protest partisan, and Osifo, we won't stop passengers stranded at Abuja Lagos Airport. You can find this major story in the nation's newspaper. Below the headmaster, it says Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi 2023, all set for elections. Military warns miscreants to stay off. DSS cautions against inflammatory statements. Hotel scarcity leaves INEC officials and security agents stranded. You find all the story on page 2. Below that, there's a pictorial of the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with the Deputy Governor of Riyadh, Royal Highness Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Abdulaziz in Riyadh. It says, with Saudi Arabia boasting advanced technologies in oil and gas exploration and production, Nigeria stands to gain significantly from this knowledge transfer. Below there, we see Nigeria, Saudi Arabia sign MOU on gas and oil investment. Beside there, we see Yoruba in diaspora to Tinubu eradicate poverty. At the belt, it says the IJ redeploys 14 AIGs and 26 CPs. Adeleke presents 273 billion naira proposed budget. At the top of the page, we have Nigeria's oil supply to Europe hits 730,000 BPD. Senate 6 sacks of MDA bosses ignoring summons and motions. Umar, he explains 21 billion naira vote for third mainland repairs, and Wike remains my principal. That's according to Governor Fubara. Now, these are some of the stories on The Nation this morning.
And for the Vanguard newspaper, we'll start from the very top. Rivers political crisis. Wike remains my Oga, according to Governor Fubara. That story is on page 12. Appeal court judgment. More protests rock Plateau. That story is on page 9. Also, ex-Labour leader Kokori struggling for life in Delta Hospital. An unfortunate situation there. That story is on page 7. And we see atop the page, on the belt, we see ports decongestion. Customs set to dispose 7,000 cargoes. Page 19, that story. And for the lead story on the Vanguard newspaper, off-cycle global elections, DHQ, DSS, IGP reads Riot Act as Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi polls hold tomorrow. We'll deal with those planning to disguise in military gear to cause violence. That's according to the Defense Headquarters. Shun inflammatory statements or face our wrath, the DSS warns. IGP orders postings, redeployment of 14 AIGs, 26 CPs, in total 40. Also, Southeast monarchs, bishops sue for peace. We see a picture there of the president and also his counterpart in Saudi Arabia during his meeting there. Of course, you know the president is currently out in Saudi Arabia. Below that, we see Labour strike, passengers stranded, flights cancelled. Page 11, that story. Also, bandits killed 11 in Sokoto communities raid. Page 6, unfortunate situation there. Reps move to reduce powers of CBN governor. You want to know why? Well, you could read up on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. MTEF FSP, Senate recommends sack of MDA heads who shun invitations. Also, we see in sports, Osimhen returns after international break, says Napoli boss. Of course, you know the role that's been going on between Osimhen and his club Napoli. So you might want to catch, more on that story on page 31. And that's it for the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
We have with us Nuruddin Abdullah, the editor of 21st Century Chronicle, who will dissect this front pages with us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Haja.
Good morning, Nuruddin. Welcome.
Good morning, Rogers again.
So, I have the Daily Trust with me, and I think the question here, the headline is, where is my souvenir? because so
all right.
I think we'll have that
yes,
conversation
indeed, we'll
later.
have that behind.
But then, Imo.
Yes.
We saw what happened in Imo in the last few days find its way, some way, somehow, to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport here in Abuja. So perhaps, what's your take on the issues? Because it's looking like both on the government side and on the labor side, nobody cares anymore washing their dirty linen in public.
Yes, I think what happened actually was the two incidents. Unfortunate. I know for every action there must be a reaction.
Of course.
The assaults, the arrest and
detainment,
brutalization of the NLC leader is it's unfortunate. And I think maybe the politicians in particular, have now they are more audacious. You can't do this to an Serbian NLC leader, national president of the NLC, maybe 10 years, 15 years ago.
Somebody was saying even Ayuba Waba will not take it.
No, certainly. And or else, they will shut down the country. We saw what happened during the Oshimole days. What they did, the audacity, was just too much. And the security agencies are mum. Maybe at the same time, the NSC has lost its courage, its bite, now just like a dog that can only bark, cannot bite, This thing cannot happen 10, 15 years ago. You understand? So I think what they did yesterday was part of their industrial action. They were not violent. The legal luminaries like Professor Aduda said it. So treasonable. Treasonable how?
No, he said it's not treasonable.
No, yeah. Some people are saying like the government agents like Kayama saying treasonable. How? You understand? In the US, I think it's ongoing. Workers of the three biggest automakers are still on strike. Multi-billion-dollar industry. They almost brought it to its knees. Nobody is saying treason, and what have you. The politicians have become audacious. What happened in Imo was condemnable. And I can't remember either the federal government or even the police condemning that act. Or those agents who were said to be wearing federal uniforms arrested or even questioned. So that is one. NLC has, just like any other segment of the society, they have lost their aura. You understand? You can't do, like somebody said, you can't even do that to Waba. Not to talk to Oshomole.
But talking about the NLC losing its credibility, right now Nigerians are not even, with them, considering they say they did not protest when the surge, current surge of prices on cost of living, subsidy removal. There was no protest to actually showcase that they are really angry. So right now it's like the situation of the federal government and the labor having issues, and the poor masses are affected. So nobody is representing them. What's your take on that one?
Which poor masses are you talking about? In Abuja here, I remember I saw it in my eyes in Area 1. Waba led a protest against Buhari's for an increment. Talks believed to be APC goons. What they call Buhari D's at that time.
I remember.
Protected by the security agents. Attacked NLC.
They were throwing stones that day.
Publicly, in public daylight. I live just close by. They were with Buhari at that time. I said it, okay, no problem. Who will lead now? It is now that tinubu came that you want NLC to, you want to reincarnate NLC, that you bully, that you lampoon in the past. So that is it. You know, the way Nigerians think, they spend time on useless or needless things. Things that they should fight for, they don't. Waba tried. Ajero tried to, and look at what happened to him in fact, now, if NLC is saying that, look at ASU. You know what they did with ASU? Everybody now is crying.
Would you say Ajero is facing some of what he's facing because he has taken sort of a more diplomatic stance? He has chosen dialogue more than picketing and shutdowns.
Yes, you know, you have to apply stick and carrot. You have to be diplomatic. You understand? Take the ASU case. Sometimes when you apply picketing and when you are combative, you know, the people you are even trying to save, like during the ASU days, the ASU strike, 8 months, they sacrificed a lot. We saw what happened to most of the university teachers. Some converted, they became Uber drivers. Those with a motorcycle become Okada riders. Some even keke and what to say for 8 months. Thankfully, Tinubu has agreed to pay them 4 months out of the. I hope he will give them the 8 months. But the Nigerians you are fighting for, that's the problem. The same parents say, no, this ASU. Look at it now. What is ASU demanding, for instance? Give us this money and don't introduce tuition. That's what I even disagree with them. But when they return, what happened? The Council of the Vice Chancellors met. They unofficially jack up the school fees. They don't call it tuition. Where they are paying 30,000 now, they are paying 120, some 200, some even 250, some even 300. When the highest we pay was 30K. But now it's 120. Even that 30K, there are people that cannot even afford it. A pensioner whose pension was not forthcoming, has 3 kids in the university. He cannot even afford that 100, which was for the whole session. Now it has been jacked up to 120 or even 150. If you are doing medical, pharmacy, what have you, it's almost 200.
Yeah, in
minus
250 something.
Hostels and what have you. Okay, now ASU is watching. ASU is even magnanimous. They are even paying school fees for some of the students. Parents were against them. So that is the dilemma NLC is facing now. They did it during Buhari. We insulted them. We say Buhari was an angel, was a messiah.
So at this point, the NLC need the support of Nigerians because they are fighting.
Of course, Zali.
All right, away from that, let's go to what is happening also in Bayelsa and Kogi, you know, close to about 24 hours to the polls. We have Igala elders call for postponement of the election while women protest in Bayelsa. I mean, they're saying that they need I think I don't know if it's happening in Imo or Bayelsa, where they are calling for the IGP to
be
I
think that's
deployed.
Bayelsa. If you look at the front page of the Daily Trust, you'd see
so it says also the IGP storms Kogi, military raises alarm. There's a lot happening in those places, and these 3 states are states that whenever there's an election, there's always that fear. Already we've seen dramas even happening before the election. So what's
we also saw, I mean, aside what's going on in Imo. Now you see these 3 states are so peculiar, right? Because of the terrain when it comes to the election. So in Imo State, we are seeing the debacle between the NLC and the Imo State governor. In Kogi State, we saw a situation where a peace accord was signed, and just only one candidate, I think the candidate of the APC, was present to sign that peace accord. Well, does this mean that the other candidates don't want peace? I mean, that's not for us to decide. In Bayelsa State, we saw situations where barely less than a few hours upon signing the peace accord, the governorship candidate and the incumbent were at each other's throat again, accusing each other of profiling arms and ammunitions ahead of the election. Do you have any fears regarding tomorrow's election in the 3 states? And do you think, because once there are these situations, the people who suffer for it are the common Nigerians, are the ordinary masses who go out just to exercise their franchise and their rights to pick who becomes their
Indeed,
leaders.
and properties are lost.
My thinking is this. The credibility of tomorrow's election in these three states solely lies on the President of the Federal Republic, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. 2023 election was adjudged to be credible because of the conduct of the critical stakeholders. INEC itself, the security agencies, the police, the DSS, the military, the CSOs, as well as the media, as well as international community. I don't know whether I miss it. During the last election in Edo, Ondo, and what have you, with what happened in Kogi, there were security alerts by the State Department in Washington, by the Foreign Office in the UK, and some other Western capitals, warning that whoever is engaged in election violence, malpractice, will be barred from visiting these countries. And that fantastically worked. All those people that were saying that if you go to position A, you'll return in body bags and what have you,
They withdrew.
They withdrew. They don't fear just Maya, but they fear these people because that's where they live. That's where they carry their loads. That helps, as well as the impartiality of the security agencies. During the last election, you will see what happened. There are footages of a particular candidate with security agents, with heavily armed, with federal insignia, shooting, dispersing voters to take away something. So, and it's a litmus test for President Tinubu to showcase his democratic credentials. That yes, the democratic ethos under me are well protected and safeguarded, irrespective of party. So we hope to see that in Kogi, we hope to see that in Bayelsa, and we hope to see that in Imo. You understand? At the end of the day, it is not the party that we want to win. No, we want the public, the electorate in Imo, the electorate in Kogi, the electorate in Bayelsa to be the winners. How do we achieve that? The security agency must ensure that people exercise their franchise freely. You understand? So it's a really, this is the first election to be conducted under President Tinubu.
Indeed.
So whatever happens, we will go a long way to portray him. Is he now a president of Nigeria, a leader in Africa, or he is still that Jagaban, the national leader of the APC? He's no longer the national leader of the APC. He's the leader of Nigerians. So we want the president to ensure that happens. And like what the Igala elders are saying, I don't think that is possible. Monies and everything has been, sensitive materials have been deployed already. So the only thing now is the security agencies. There was massive redeployment yesterday. I topped the issue of the people in Bayelsa, Imo, and what have you, of removing police IGs and whatever. You know, it happens. Most leaders, at the eve of the election, they will remove. You know, they say that they accuse that the sitting governor will pocket the head of the security agency. But at the dying minute, you know, they will be posted out of the state. So when the new one comes, before you get to know him, you know, and what have you. So, like the present IG, it is equally a litmus test for him. Can he superintend a police force that will be unbiased, that will be professional? You know, whether we like it or not, 2023 election, you know, the security agencies need to be commended. They were strictly professional. More than 80-85%. You can't rig election without their cooperation. You understand? So I think it's a litmus test for the president and for the security agencies and for the image of Nigerians. Because if what happened during the last election in Kogi happened again, we see people in choppers with federal insignia chasing away electorates. Or with what is happening in Imo, you know, the current governor has been battling with almost all segments of the society. The workers have been on strike. And the man doesn't give a damn. He even beat up the NLC president, you know, you can see that. So it is now people of Imo they should be allowed fundamentally, you know, to exercise their right, whether to retain him. You know, he came through the Supreme Court, whether to chase him away. And in Bayelsa, you know, it's a riverine already, riverine almost. There are so many types of gangs. So we hope that the military, the Navy, and other people will be up to the task to ensure that the people of Bayelsa win, not Silva or Diri.
Okay, we hope that the people of Bayelsa win, not Silva or Diri. We hope that the people of Kogi win, not the APC or the PDP or any candidate. We hope that the people of Imo win, not the candidates. Maunuruddin Abdullah, I want to thank you so much for, you know, gracing us once again and hoping that you would come once we come calling again. And of course, it's been a difficult situation for Nigerians. We do hope that as Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa State go out to vote tomorrow, we hope that it's a peaceful and a credible election. And of course, as the cash crunch is biting hard, palliatives are being shared here and there. I do hope that Madam Nuruddin will bring mine for me, because I mean, it's biting hard everywhere. But then again, this is where we come to the end of Daybreak this morning. We do hope you enjoyed what we brought for you this morning, and we do hope to join you again another time. From me, thank you very much for joining. Thank God it's Friday. Have a lovely weekend. I'm Sagir Ibrahim.
And I am Sumaya Abubakar. Please do stick around for 360 Sports with Emmanuel Fashimi. Do have a lovely day.